What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we begin our talks on a massive fan favorite, the somewhat newly introduced Soul Knife Rogue. The rogue that seeks to infiltrate while looking unarmed, but there's always something up its sleeve. Before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if we haven't already. And of course, make sure to click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded, and share the video with your friends. So besides the subclass that we're going to be talking about next week, the Swashbuckler, this might be one of the most popular and well thought of rogue subclasses that is out there. You get a lot of different things. Obviously, this kind of has the same flavor as the Psy Warrior Fighter, which we talked about a while back. I'll link that up in the iCard above for you to check out. But this has a similar thing, right? We have psionic energy dice. They're all named similarly. Now, the pools that you get between the two are separate, so don't think that you can just multi-class a little bit into fighter and then boost up your pool of dice here. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, but still, this has its own unique identity and different things that you can do with the dice, and it's going to be very interesting to see where this ranks in comparison to all the others. So let's do it. Starting off at level 3, we get a couple of features, and the first is Psionic Power. This is what basically activates everything that we need to do for the rest of our character's lifetime. So we are going to get these psionic energy dice like what I said, and for right now they are D6s. We have a number of them equal to double our proficiency bonus, and this of course will scale as we level up. We are going to increase the number of them based on our proficiency bonus, and they are going to increase in die size at 5th, 11th, and 17th level, going all the way up to eventually a D12, which is pretty cool. We get all of those dice back on a long rest, and we actually can gain 1 die back as a bonus action per short rest or long rest, which is pretty cool. So essentially you have double proficiency bonus plus 1 per short rest, and then it's just that big number per long rest. And we can use these to fuel, for now, 2 different features. Number 1, Psi Bolstered Knack. Basically, if we fail an ability check, we can choose to roll one of these dice, and if we turn it into a success, then we expend the die. That's a very important distinction, is that if we still fail the roll, then we actually do not expend the die, which is pretty cool. We also get Psychic Whispers, which allows us to telepathically communicate with a number of creatures equal to our proficiency bonus. We can roll our psionic energy die, and we get to telepathically communicate for a number of hours equal to that number that we rolled. This is incredibly broad, which is super nice because it works up to a mile away, and it's fantastic. Now, the creature that you are speaking to does have to speak a language, but doesn't necessarily have to speak a language that you can speak, which helps out a lot. And of course, the first time that we use this after each long rest, we actually get to do this for free, and then we can expend a die after if we want to do it again. So there's a lot going on here, right, in order to create the groundwork of what will be a hopefully really powerful subclass. We get these dice and we've got plenty of them, right? We've got double our proficiency bonus, so we start with 4, and eventually we will have 12, which is really cool, and eventually they will be D12s. Now, they do not scale based on when you normally would have a feature in your subclass. It's at 5th level we go to a D8, 11th a D10, and 17th a D12. So it's kind of tied to it, but we get the D8 pretty soon, only 2 levels away, which is pretty nice. This is awesome. This is really cool. One of the biggest things here that this does right is the ability to use this to pass an ability check and not expend it if we still fail. That is a huge help to us because there's no risk. If you already failed the ability check, you can't fail it anymore, right? You know, might as well go for it. And if it still doesn't work out, oh well, no harm, no foul. That's fantastic. And this open of a telepathy feature also is super cool. Works super well here. And of course, as a rogue, this is absolutely insane, especially from a mile away. You probably are never going to run into range issues with this. This is a 10 out of 10 start as far as I'm concerned. This is absolutely fantastic, gives us everything that we want to start with, and we're not even done with level 3 yet. Also at level 3, we get Psychic Blades, and this allows us to attack people with our brain, which is pretty cool. So when we take the attack action, we can actually create a Psychic Blade in a free hand. We can then throw that weapon if we want to. It is a simple melee weapon with finesse and thrown properties. Just think a dagger, essentially. But it has a 60-foot range. There is no long range, so at 60 feet, you're done. There's no short and long range to worry about there. And then if it hits, it deals psychic damage equal to 1d6, which is better than a dagger, plus the ability modifier that you used for the attack roll. Of course, we're going to be using dexterity most of the time, but you of course can go a different direction if you want to. And then it vanishes immediately after it hits or misses the target and leaves no mark on the target if it deals damage. We'll come back to that. That's pretty cool. After we attack with the blade, we can make a melee or ranged attack with a second blade as a bonus action on the same turn, provided that our other hand is free. This one just deals a d4 instead of a d6. So there's a lot going on here too. We can create a weapon out of nothing, which is great. Again, you walk into a party and the security takes all of your weapons away. You don't care. You're fine. You've got weapons that you can create at any time from your brain, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That definitely helps out a lot. And of course, all of this works really well with your sneak attack. It has finesse, so it qualifies, which is great, but it's also a melee weapon, so you can go with melee or by throwing it, which is really cool. 60-foot range is honestly plenty, and psychic damage is great because this is very rarely resisted unless you're going up against like a mind flayer or something, in which case you may want to have a backup actual dagger just in case, but that is going to be pretty rare in most cases. So and then of course we get to make a second attack on our bonus action. We have extra attack as a rogue, kind of. We have to use our bonus action for it, which is you have to give up cunning action, but honestly, if you're already in the right spot, I don't see why you don't use this. Obviously, it gets in the way of steady aim, but again, I'd much rather make 2 attacks than be so worried about having advantage. Yes, sneak attack is a thing, but you can also rely on allies to help you with that. So I don't think that the drawback there is all that bad. Is this a 10? I don't think so, but I certainly think that it's a 9. I think it's really good being able to conjure weapons out of nowhere, being able to throw them, deal psychic damage, so you're not having to worry about resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. You don't have to worry about having a magical weapon, all that good stuff. It's really, really cool. There's not really a whole lot of downside here. At level 9, we get Soul Blades, and this is just going to buff what we already could do. So we get homing strikes first of all, and this works kind of like our psi bolstered knack, but with attack rolls. We basically can roll a psionic energy die and add it to an attack roll, and if it causes the attack to hit, then we expend the die at that point, but not before, which is pretty cool. I think that's awesome. We also have Psychic Teleportation, and this, of course, is going to allow us to teleport. So we already had telepathy, now we can teleport. Awesome stuff there. So we can roll a die and we can teleport a number of feet away equal to 10 times the number that we roll on our psionic energy die at this point. We of course have a D8 as our psionic energy die at this point, but that's going to go up to a D10 in 2 levels. So that's up to 100 feet if you roll well. Really awesome stuff there. Yeah, this is also great. Being able to roll a die and be able to hit a little more reliably is going to be great. This of course reminds me of some stuff that the Battlemaster Fighter can do, but honestly I think this is better because it's not just expended if you still miss. If you still miss, you don't expend the die, and that is super helpful there. And then of course having a massive teleportation, yeah, you could roll a 1 and only go 10 feet, but you could also go 100 feet or eventually 120 feet at 17th level, and that's absolutely massive. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10 as well. I think this is a great way to buff the already amazing foundation that we've created, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. At level 13, we get Psychic Veil, and this allows us to be invisible, which, as if we didn't have enough great things about this subclass, we now can be invisible, which is great. So as an action, we can magically become invisible along with things that we're holding and carrying for an hour. This invisibility will end early if we deal damage to a creature or force it to make a save, and of course we get to do this once per long rest unless we want to expend a psionic energy die. Now, did you catch the distinction that makes this different than normal invisibility type of features? This is when you hit a creature with an attack, not when you attack a creature, when you deal damage to a creature or force a saving throw. That's a big distinction because most of your invisibility type of effects, when you make an attack, is when this expires. This one expires when you actually deal damage. And that makes this more useful than your typical invisibility spell is going to. That's why this is better. And of course, we get once for free, and we can of course do it as many times as we want as long as we have psionic energy dice, which is also awesome. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. Easy 9 out of 10. I think that the improvement on what invisibility is going to be fantastic. I don't think I can quite give it a 10 just because you are going to be running into things with True Sight once you get past 13th level. So in that case, you're not gonna use it as much, but still, it's still going to be a fantastic feature and going to give you plenty of mileage. Finally, level 17, we get Rend Mind, and as if our attacks weren't dealing enough damage with sneak attack and they weren't magical and dealing psychic damage, well, now they can basically kind of stunning strike, which is just insane. So with this, whenever we deal sneak attack damage to a creature, we can force it to make a wisdom saving throw. If it fails, the target is stunned for 1 minute. That saving throw can of course be repeated at the end of each of its turns, but still, and of course, similar to our last feature, we can use this once for free, and we can expend 3 psionic energy dice if we want to use this again. This is another insanely good feature. Stun is a really rough condition, and it can be encounter breaking, honestly, especially when you are running up with like a paladin, or if you have a second rogue or anything like that. They're gonna love those free crits, and it's just insane. So yeah, stunned is absolutely gnarly, and being able to attach that to a rogue is absolutely wild. Now, it is expensive at 3 psionic energy dice to use it a second time, so that's a little rough, and that's the only reason it's not going to get a 10. It's going to get a 9 from me because I think it's not quite there. I think the 3 psionic energy dice is a lot, and of course this just says to use it again. It doesn't mean only if it fails, right? This means you have to use the feature and they still could succeed on that saving throw. So that's why it goes a little bit lower. So what do we think of the Soul Knife Rogue? As you can tell, I like this subclass. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the flavor is amazing here, but more importantly, the mechanics are equally as good, if not better. The ability to summon weapons from nowhere is insane. We have telepathy, we have teleportation, we have boosts to our damage, we have kind of an extra attack, so dual wielding is kind of built in. We've got all these amazing things, and I don't know that there's much more that a rogue really could ask for. Is it as good, though, as the Arcane Trickster? That's kind of our best rogue that we've seen so far in this series. I don't know that it is. I think that it's just below the Arcane Trickster. I think the Arcane Trickster is still a little better because it is a little more widely applicable what the Arcane Trickster can do. You, of course, can get your teleportation a little earlier. You can still do the telepathy in some ways. There are ways that the Arcane Trickster can do some of these things, but it doesn't necessarily do all of them better, whereas it does other things better. I still think this is a 10 out of 10 subclass, though. I do think that the Arcane Trickster is slightly higher, but I don't know that I can give the Soul Knife a 9 in good conscience. So that is our ranking for today. We've got an amazing build planned for you later this week, and I hope you guys will stick around for that. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.